If you're pregnant and had severe tearing during a previous birth, this one is for you. By the end of this video, you will know 5 concrete ways to avoid tearing again during your upcoming birth, so you can recover faster and take care of your growing family in a confident way without being in pain for weeks. Exactly like our client Caitlin, who had a first traumatic birth with forceps and episiotomy and a long recovery. Caitlin followed our approach during her second pregnancy and had a tear-free birth and did not even have to take pain medication after because she felt so good in her body. This allowed her to take care of her newborn and her toddler in a confident way in the very early days after birth. If you're serious about doing things differently this time around to have a positive, trauma-free birth and a smooth recovery, that's what we do and we'd love to help. Click the link below to book a free chat with me so we can discuss your situation and make a plan. My first tip for you is to identify if you have a tight pelvic floor right from early pregnancy. If you didn't know this yet, your baby will have to go through your pelvic floor muscles during the pushing stage. And when we talk about second, third, and fourth degree tears, we are actually talking about the pelvic floor muscles tearing. So you know how people have tight shoulder or back muscles? Well, surprise, surprise, your pelvic floor muscles could be tight too. And when that's the case, they are more likely to tear during birth. The good thing about tight muscles is that we can stretch them, right? So if we identify pelvic floor tightness early enough in pregnancy, like in the early second trimester is a great time to check on this, we can address these tensions and make sure the pelvic floor is in the best possible shape to give birth without tearing. If that's something you want to look into, I've got a playlist about pelvic floor tightness that I will link in the description below. The second tip is to do perineal stretching as of 34 weeks of pregnancy. Perineal stretching does not only reduce the risk of severe perineal tearing, but it also prepares you mentally for your pushing stage so you can relax into it rather than tightening up. There's 2 ways to stretch your perineum. One is through a manual stretch with the help of a partner, and the second way is with a device such as the Epino or the Aniball. Again, I've made videos with all the instructions for these strategies, and I will link them below if you're interested. Personally, I used the Epino during my first pregnancy and had amazing results for my birth. I got away with just a small second degree tear despite giving birth to a baby over 9 pounds or 4 kilos. I think I would have definitely got a third degree tear if I had not used the Epino, and I'm fully intending to use it again for this upcoming birth. So I highly recommend it. And if you're tired of fishing around on my channel to find out this information, I totally get it. In that case, let's just have a chat and make this path smoother for you. I'm here to help and support you wherever you're at. So don't hesitate to reach out. There's a link in the description below to book a free call with me. The third tip is to learn to release your pelvic floor muscles. Your pelvic floor muscles are around your vagina, and the best news is that you have full control to contract and release these muscles. When you squeeze your pelvic floor, it reduces the space around your vaginal opening. So we don't want that when you're pushing your baby, right? Because the tighter the muscles are, the more likely they are to tear, and the harder it is for your baby to come out. On the other hand, when you release your pelvic floor, it opens up some space for your baby, which makes it easier for them to come out and reduces the chances of tearing. So what I'm saying here is, why don't you learn how to release your pelvic floor right now in pregnancy when you're somewhat in control of the situation, versus trying to apply this strategy when you're pushing your baby and there's just so much going on down there. It's like if someone was trying to learn to skate and their very first time was during the playoffs in a national hockey team. Do you see my point? You're asking your pelvic floor to perform at the super high level for the first time in the hardest possible conditions. So of course they're not going to succeed. I'll link a video below if you want to learn how to release your pelvic floor now. Tip number 4 is to use pelvic floor safe birth positions during labor and pushing. Research shows that positions such as squatting increase the risk of tearing, so you really want to avoid squatting, specifically during the crowning stage. Positions like all fours or side lying can be great alternatives. We also want to avoid pushing on our back because it reduces the mobility of your sacrum to move out of the way. So that means you will have to push harder to get your baby out, which can in turn increase the risk of tearing as well. And tip number 5 is avoid explosive pushing. This tip is especially relevant for moms who have delivered vaginally before because labor tends to go faster in subsequent birth, which can lead to what we call an explosive pushing stage, where the baby comes out in just a few minutes. So we want to avoid purple pushing or Valsalva pushing, which means blocking your breath as you push. Instead, practice breathing out as you push to try and slow things down and focus on releasing your pelvic floor at the same time. Pushing in a side-lying position can also help be more in control when things are moving fast. If you're looking for support to prepare your pelvic floor in the best possible way to have a trauma-free birth and a smooth recovery for this next birth, this is what we do and we'd love to chat with you. You can book a free call with me in the description below. I hope this was helpful and thanks for watching.